by default, the law has always said that what you do on your own time is your own business. But the law has also always said that if you do something off duty that has implications on your employer or on the employment relationship, it can result in discipline up to and including dismissal. And when we say if it has implications for your employment relationship, that might mean things like going out and bashing your boss online. So in the old days, what would often happen is that someone would go out for a couple of drinks with their buddies after work, and they might complain about what a jerk their boss was. But the reality was there was no record of what they said. There was a very limited audience as to who was listening to it, and no one ever thought twice about it. Now, more likely, that same person is going to go on Facebook or Twitter or on their blog and comment on their boss. And the problem here is that you've got a potential audience of millions, and you've got a permanent record of exactly what you said. And try as people might, you can't delete it. So the reality is it is going to impact the employment relationship if the employer finds out. And odds are in 2018, you're not going to be able to fly below the radar. You can also do something that will impact your employer's reputation. So you might say something that has nothing directly to do with your job. But for example, we've seen people such as the Ontario Hydro employee that we saw the video in episode 8 of Fire Away. Ontario Hydro employee outside a Toronto FC game showed something extremely misogynistic and offensive to a TV reporter on live TV, and he was fired almost immediately. We've had Ontario Hockey Association referees who have posted or tweeted inappropriate comments about the women of Sault Ste. Marie and been suspended. And I can go on and on with people who have done stupid things online, been suspended, been fired. And I love anytime any of these things happen, tune into talk radio, and you'll hear people going on and on about how we have freedom of speech in Canada. You should not be fired for what you say off duty. This is illegal. It's unlawful, et cetera, which is completely untrue. I mean, the reality is we have freedom of speech, which means that you cannot face criminal prosecutions for what you say. And even that has limits, hate speech and that type of thing. But the reality is freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. So if you do something, say something off duty, you can be disciplined. Maybe there's just cause, in which case you get nothing. Maybe there isn't. But either way, you have lost your job. So the bottom line is, for if you're an individual, think twice before you go online and say anything that your employer might not approve of. And if you're an employer, you should be aware of what your employees are doing and saying online and off duty more generally, to the extent you can be aware of it. If you become aware of potential issues, Martin, Burt, and I talked about this in episode 8 of Fire Away, you need to do an investigation. And I've written about this in my book, which is called You're Fired. When you become aware of any alleged misconduct, don't jump the gun. Make sure to do a proper investigation, which includes confronting the individual, giving them a chance to respond to the allegations, explain what happened, and perhaps redeem themselves. Or what I see happen more often is that they dig themselves a deeper hole, and they will either lie or engage in other dishonesty, or they will show that they really have no judgment whatsoever, in which case you probably don't want them in your employment with your company to begin with. And at that point, you're going to have a much stronger case to let them go. So either way, confront them, go through the investigation, and then deal with the situation. The bottom line is, as I've often said, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences, especially in the context of employment. So that's my 2 cents worth, and you got it here for free.